about all things related to mental health and mental illness on this channel. Today, we're going to be talking about parenting with a mental illness. Like, going to the grocery store. When did that become so exciting? Because our kids aren't with us. But also, it's very hard. Parenting in general has no hacks. There are no hacks. Everything is hard. Kids don't listen, and it's a part of life. But we play a crucial role in their development, and apart from having a mental illness, everyone on this planet struggles to consistently be the best parent they can be. So let's get started and talk about some of the most important things we should remember when we're parenting with a mental illness. The information I got is from my own experiences with two children, an 8-year-old and 2-year-old, in therapy with my child, my oldest, and a lot of parenting classes, books, and support from other mothers. So let's dive right in. Many parents who have a mental illness fear that it's going to, without a doubt, negatively impact their children. And that's simply not true. There are things you can do and ways to help your children deal with mental illness. The first thing is honest communication. I learned this from my therapist, and it was a game changer for me. Talking about mental health and mental illness always brings a little bit of anxiety and fear for me because there is a lot of stigma and discrimination. And because of that, anytime I'm telling someone new, whether it's my son or not, it's hard. But it's important to have an honest conversation with your child about your actions and behaviors and your illness so that they understand they are not responsible, they're not to blame for the reason you're acting the way you do or the reason you feel the way you are. Your conversation can go a little bit easier, perhaps, by following some of the tips that I learned, which is to keep it age appropriate and as simple as possible. I told my child about my diagnoses when he was 6 years old, and now he's 8, and he asks a lot of questions, and he is open. And what's important is at the end of the day, our children don't think they're to blame, and that we reassure them that the way we feel and the way we behave sometimes is because we're sick, and that you're a team and you're there to help each other. So honest communication is super important, especially with our children. Parenting and consistency. Who would have thought that'd be so successful? I will say I'm the first one that did not do this very well for the majority of my son's life up until this last year. I took a great parenting class. I'll share the link below, so if you're interested, you can read it. Consistency was the key. And I will tell you, my son's behavior, things became so easy in our house compared to where they were. We weren't having a power struggle on the days that I was very depressed. I still was able to manage my responsibilities as a mom because there was consistency. So even though I don't have consistency with my moods and sometimes my behaviors, having consistent rules and expectations and responsibilities that are fair for our children to follow, that is going to make a huge difference. And it can be as simple as a behavior chart with rewards and consequences that are outlined, and the other caregiver in your life being on the same page as you. These are all parenting tips that we've heard from any other person talking about this. It doesn't just have to do with mental illness, but particularly because mental illness you can't see, Our children don't know those days that are very hard for us to even get up out of bed or want to be there. On the days we don't feel like we belong, no matter how hard we're trying or how silly that sounds. Those are all real feelings and real struggles, and having consistency in the household made my illness so much easier to manage from day to day. Then the best tip I've gotten and implemented has been consistency in the household and consistent rules, expectations, and responsibilities for your children. Another thing I have learned is how important it is that I'm actively taking steps that take care of my mental health. And what that looks like is not all of just the popular ideas out there that we hear all the time, like how important it is to exercise and how important it is to eat right and sleep right. But it's also important that you take downtime for yourself. Self-care is not always going to get your nails done or going shopping like I used to do, although that's not a bad thing. We all deserve a little TLC, but taking time to reserve our energy, because we don't know that day how much energy our kids are gonna need from us. And when you're depressed and you're anxious, we know how hard it is to get ourselves even feeling like anything, but when you have to show up for kids, one way to do that easier is to take active steps and get treatment, whether that's therapy or therapy and doctors and medications. Whatever that looks like is different for you and different for me. But something I've learned, and I learned it in therapy, but it was great in teaching me how to take proper care of myself, was my therapist shared with me that if I have a pitcher of lemonade, and that represents me and how much I'm able to give, and then I have all these glasses, which are the roles that people play in my life and the relationships we have. So I pour a little bit in my cup because I'm a daughter, and I pour a little bit because I'm a wife, so a little bit more, and then I'm also a mom, so 2 cups for my 2 children, and then maybe student, and work, and grandma, and my sister. No wonder I am exhausted and consistently struggling for a long period of time. This is where I was living at, because I would let that lemonade pitcher go to empty, and I wasn't prepared for when my kids needed a little extra lemonade that day, or my husband needed a little bit more from me that day. So what she was teaching me was that you never let the lemonade pitcher go empty. You always keep a little reserve for yourself and for those situations that do need your extra attention that day. That's one way you can prevent burnout, is by not only exercising and sleeping right, taking care of yourself, getting out in nature and finding the right relaxation techniques, but also by planning ahead and ensuring that you don't run yourself into the ground. Another thing to remember is when you're parenting with mental illness, it's important to seek help when you need it. No parent has to go through life alone, but a lot of us have the fear, especially when we're mentally ill, that our children will get taken away from us if we seek help. And the truth is that you're seeking help and they're going to assist you in managing that situation. That's not the worst thing possible. The worst outcome possible would be not seeking help and letting your illness continue on into a point that you are not sure of the consequences. So, seeking help when you need it. Ask someone to take the kids overnight. You can take them to a babysitter. They'll love the extra attention, and you are not a bad parent for seeking help because you need it. All right, guys, that's all I have on parenting today, but I'm interested to know what you guys have that I missed. I'm sure there's a ton of stuff, and I'd love to hear from you. So if you have anything that you want to share, some information on this topic, I'd love to hear all about it. Please leave a comment and subscribe if you're interested in learning and growing more together on this journey of living with mental illness. I 100% support all of you guys. I know that the days can be long and hard, but you've made it through 100% of your bad days. So I know that you got this, and remember to go easy on yourself.